Hi, this is Carl the Cobra Frutch, and you're watching Lights Out.
Eddie Hearn, for a number of years, has ruled the roost when it comes to boxing promoters. Eddie Hearn has been on top of the world. He's given us the zone. He's given us some magical nights with matchroom boxing. And he's also teamed up with his longtime rival, Frank Warren. But is there a new promoter who's about to change the scene of boxing? Dana White, who has worked wonders at the UFC, is now in the boxing game. How does this relationship pan out? It's what we're going to really be discussing in today's podcast. This is Faisal Khan for Lights Out, proudly sponsored by Spartans Law. And this is podcast 83 of the Lights Out Boxing podcast. With me, I'm delighted to be joined by my good friend, my dear brother, and the guy that I'd like to consider as my oracle, my wise man, my right-hand man, Mr. Mohsin Gulshir, aka Ron, who is on another level right now because he's managed to finally grab himself a microphone. So listen, Ron, sky's the limit for you, mate. I mean, you have really taken to the new chapter of Lights Out Boxing, and I've got to say, I'm proud of you, bro. You finally got yourself a microphone. We just need to work on the appearance a bit, but I think we'll get this slowly. How you doing anyway? You all good?
Not too bad. I can't complain. How are you? How are you keeping?
Very well, thank you. Congratulations on the 5K today, Ron. You know,
not my nephew. I was really proud. Yeah,
not quite the London Marathon, but it's a marathon. You know, I run 5K for a laugh. I mean, you're doing it for charity, and listen, shout out to you, bro. Massive congratulations. Say whether it's 5K or 25, it doesn't matter. You're doing it for a great cause, and we really appreciate that. The $1 million question is, Ron, is when are you going to be doing the London Marathon? Because that's the one I'm really looking forward to.
April 2026.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't remember the date. I think it's 23rd of April. Signed up, started training. I mean, I'm regularly running anyway, so yeah, it's a commitment. And, you know, it's like I'm going to make sure I stick to the program. It's a 16-week program, I think it is, or so grueling 26 miles, I think it is. So I've done a half marathon, which was quite a challenge. So I'm looking forward to the marathon now.
And how's training camp coming along?
It's there. It's coming along. It's good. A mind over matter, that is, running, if you ask anyone.
Okay, well done, man, on today's 5K. And like I said, 5K, 25K, doesn't matter. It's all for a great cause. Guys, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. I mean, look, just turn on the bell for more Lights Out boxing content. Social media platforms are below in the description of the video. And of course, this podcast is also available on all the audio platforms, including Spotify. Ron, you know how it goes now, man. I mean, do I need to say anything else?
Okay. All right. Well, but I'm going to really test your boxing knowledge here tonight.
Okay. For those who are new to the podcast, this is Ron's quick fire question, by the way.
A little bit. Okay. So I'm going to name you like top 10 kind of like boxing attributes. And I'm going to say an attribute, and I just want you to name a boxer, the first boxer that comes into your head.
Okay.
Past, old, current, modern fighters. I'll let you decide, okay?
Okay.
Just the first name, all right? Here's the first one. Ring IQ.
Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, agreed. Speed.
Manny Pacquiao. No.
Okay.
Amir Khan.
Okay. I would have gone from what I've seen footage of Sugar Ray Leonard. But yep, I think Manny Pacquiao and Amir Khan are great. Power.
Mike Tyson.
Yep, agreed. Deontay Wilder for me. Balance and footwork.
Vasyl Lomachenko.
Yeah, agreed. I had that one as well. Endurance.
Oh, that's a tough one. Endurance. Alexander Usyk.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking
the
of
king of
Ali.
The championship rounds.
Yeah, I was thinking of Ali, thinking about all his 15-round wars that he was involved with. back then, man, that was serious boxing.
Brutal.
Man.
It was brutal.
Thrill in Manila comes into mind. Next one, defense.
Floyd Mayweather, all day long.
I've got Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker.
It's a good choice. I would have gone with Crawford had it not been for Mayweather.
I mean, look, Mayweather was awesome. You know that Philly, is it Philly
The
shell,
Philly
or
shell,
what's
yeah.
it called?
Philly
Yeah,
shell, yeah.
you know the very unique style. Chin or durability.
Oh, Golovkin. Guy's got a granite chin.
Who's the one I had in mind? Hagler. Marvin
Okay.
Hagler. I think he was. I think one time he got dropped, but I think that was dubious. That was a slip more than anything. Accuracy.
Accuracy. That's a good one. Andre Ward.
Okay, good. I had Juan Manuel Marquez for that one. I think he picked the shots really well. Mental toughness.
Mental toughness. Do you know I'm gonna go for Golovkin, man. I mean, that guy, I mean, I've watched those 3 fights with Canelo, not one of those punches phased him. I'm gonna go for Golovkin, man. I've not seen anyone tougher than Golovkin. He's a tough son of a bitch. For me, it's Golovkin, man. I love Golovkin. I think Golovkin, everything about him. All these attributes I could give to Golovkin. But yeah, definitely that one, Golovkin.
Okay. Last one. Discipline. Most disciplined fighter.
Most disciplined fighter.
Okay. I'll give you a little hint. Think about someone who's kind of operated at a high level despite his age. That's what I'm thinking of.
What weight are you talking about?
Anyway, just think about someone who's operated despite his age. He's still, kind of competing at the
Bernard
elite level.
Hopkins.
Yep, that's the one.
Bernard Hopkins is definitely up there. And you know another one who is up there for me, Adonis Stevenson.
Adonis Stevenson.
Yes.
I had George Foreman. Think about it. He came back after how long, and he had to change his style, and he had to, adapt to modern day boxing. Well, in the 90s boxing, taking a big time out of his career. So there you go. Thank you for that. I hope that really had you on your feet, didn't it?
I thought you were going to ruin my boxing IQ there for a second, mate. Brilliant question as always, Ron. Hence to why you've now got the responsibility of the quick fire questions. Guys, get involved in the top 10. Was it top 10 attributes? Top 10 fighter attributes?
Yeah. I mean, I'll send it to you, and I'd love to hear what everyone else says.
Okay, we'll be sure to make a clip of that and use it on our social media platforms. Ron, brilliant as always. I enjoyed that one. Let's dive into today's podcast. I said at the beginning of today's podcast, right? Eddie Hearn is, whatever you think of Eddie Hearn, he's ruled the roost for a number of years. I mean, you got to give Eddie Hearn credit for what he's done for, the past 15 years in boxing. And now we're seeing Eddie Hearn work closely with his longtime rival in Frank Warren. There's obviously been a lot of influence from His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. He's moved away from sort of Sky Sports and normal TV's gone over to DAZN. But however, there's a new kid on the block, Ron, and this new kid has got a number of years of experience in terms of combat sports. We're talking about the one and only Dana White. Dana White obviously was one of the main promoters for the big fight between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, which took place not so long ago. And the reason why I want to focus on this, Ron, is because I watched an interview that Eddie Hearn did with Ariel Helwani, and it was a very interesting interview. And obviously, Ariel, being the top broadcast journalist that he is, asked some great questions as always. And he more or less got a lot out of Eddie Hearn in this interview. And I want to go through a couple of comments that Eddie Hearn made. So one of the comments is Dana's not an idiot, and he knows I am for real. He is arrogant enough and egotistical enough to think he is going to spank me in boxing. In my opinion, he can't lace my boots in boxing. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, Dana White was one of the lead promoters for the Canelo Crawford fight, and Ariel Helwani did what he had to do. He got his thoughts on the show, and Eddie Hearn commented, "The reality is, there was probably a loss on that show because of the deal that Turkey Al Sheikh did with Canelo and Crawford. Dana White come out and said it's the biggest show in boxing. That was not a Dana White show. That was the brainchild, the vision, and funded by His Excellency Turkey Al Sheikh. Since that show and all the interviews, it has given me a spring in my step. Now, Ron, the title of this podcast is Dana White gonna knock Eddie Hearn off the top of his perch? I want to get your thoughts on Dana White's entrance to boxing, and I also want to get your thoughts on whether you think Dana White's experience in the UFC world could potentially see him come in and perhaps become the next big face of boxing in terms of a promoter side of things.
I mean, look, it makes for us consumers boxing a lot more interesting now. You got more players. You got people who can bring something else to the sport as well. We know what Dana White's done to the UFC. You know what kind of brand he's made. He's done an amazing job with that. You know, Dana's a great promoter, but boxing's a different beast. But Dana's kind of obviously getting involved with is it called TKO and the
Zafar
boxing
boxing
league with Turkey Al Sheikh. I'm keen to see how that kind of progresses and what that looks like. And have they got their own title or something that I'm hearing as well? So
I know that they've just signed a massive $1 billion deal with Paramount for Zafar boxing, which is going to see a new belt
Zafar
brought
belt as
in.
well. I mean
Yes.
yeah. So I mean,
Apparently,
Eddie
there's
Hearn
rumors of a new
choice of words
shaped
about
size
that.
ring as well.
What say that again? Sorry, about the
Apparently,
ring.
there's rumors that Dana White wants to bring in a new shaped size ring as well. So
I would like to know what shape it would be. Yeah, interesting. Because we've seen with bare knuckle boxing, and they've got some interesting kind of ring layouts as well. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I have,
I've seen
yeah.
a squared one, no, a circle one. Sorry, I've seen a triangle one. You know what I mean? It's just mad, and obviously the UFC's got the octagon. So it's innovation, isn't it? So, but we've got a new market, new generation of kind of followers. We've got the YouTube generation that. I mean, look what Misfits and so on they bought in. So look, let's not knock it until we've seen it, and then we can then comment on it. At the moment, it's all speculation. They're really kind of turning the current boxing fraternity on its head at the moment because they've got these new ideas, new belts that they want to bring in, this new league format, which I'm really interested in see how that one works out. So I reckon, look, if Dana fully commits to boxing, he'd shake things up. But at this current moment in time, Hearn's been in the business for a very long time. He knows the game, so it's good for us as consumers. You know what I mean? We're going to get variety. It's going to be interesting. In the next few years ahead of us.
I like the word you used there. We are consumers. Look, Ron, the way I see it is, yes, my opinion on it is very simple. Yeah, we're not just talking about any, you know, guy just walking in and promoting these fights. I mean, we're talking about a guy that's got experience in combat sports and Dana White. And wherever people think of the UFC, I mean, it's a unbelievable platform now. I mean, there's millions of fans out there that are drawn into UFC that have taken to it. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a big, massive fan of UFC, but I do like UFC. However, the guy's got enough experience to know how combat sports works. And the guy, is experienced in this type of thing anyway. I think watching that Eddie Hearn interview,
It's clear to see his ruffled feathers.
yeah, and I'm just thinking to myself, why? I mean, I get the fact that the guy's experienced, but this is a new, different age now. We're not talking about, well, if you want your fighter to fight my fighter, we've got to come out first, and it's got to be Eddie Hearn versus Frank. No, it don't work like that. The bottom line is right. Is There's a guy out there who's pumping money into the sport, His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh, and we needed this guy. This is the guy we were crying out for a number of years. I can't thank Turki Al Sheikh enough. I mean, look at what he's given us over the sort of past few years. We've seen two fights between Beterbiev and Bivol. You've seen two fights between Usyk and Tyson Fury. You've seen a 5v5 Matchroom versus Queensbury card. You're seeing fighters that were at British level that are now on the cusp of challenging for world titles. And I don't care what anybody says, it's down to His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh. The guy is the brainchild, as Eddie Hearn said, and the guy is funding everything. We're talking about 95,000 people at Wembley for an Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois fight. We've had 3 undisputed world heavyweight title fights in the space of 2.5, 3 years with His Excellency with Turki Al Sheikh. We never got that before Turki Al Sheikh. I mean, what was it, an 18, 19-year wait before we had an undisputed heavyweight title fight? So these guys have all got to work together. Now, I'd like to see Eddie Hearn. I'm not going to slate him for his comments. At the end of the day, it's his opinion. He's entitled to say what he wants. However, he's working with Frank Warren. Look how that's benefited everybody in boxing. Work with Turki Al Sheikh. Continue to work with Turki Al Sheikh. But just embrace that there's another guy coming into the sport and there's another guy that wants to deliver the biggest and best fights. Yes, it was all funded by His Excellency, but give credit to Dana White. I mean, what a first show to promote, Crawford Canelo. And I thought it was a pretty decent show, regardless of what our thoughts on the undercard was. That type of fight where 85, 90% of the money is going to the main attributes of the show. And that were the two guys who fought in the main event. And we're talking two of the biggest names in boxing. Look, there's no doubt in my mind that Eddie Hearn can, spank Dana White because he's experienced in boxing. However, if it was roles reversed, I'm pretty sure Dana White would say the same. But I want to see less of this, these comments. I want these guys to work together, and everyone knows Dana White can't lace Eddie Hearn's boots. How about we embrace the fact that there's a new kid on the block and he wants to just make the sport better? I mean, would you say those are fair comments, Ron? Or, I don't know, can you understand why Eddie Hearn does feel slightly a bit, as you said, ruffled his feathers?
Mate, it's a business, isn't it? Business people don't like to share the pie. Is that income? There's got someone else who's going to be taking a big portion of that pie. That's what it all comes down to. For me and you, it's great. We'll see really good undercards being put on. We'll see the US market take up again because we've been kind of moaning that it's kind of died out, the US market, with HBO and all these other boxing kind of channels and stuff. It's so we'll see the boxing scene kind of really take up again. I like it. I think it's a threat. I'm keen to see what color the ring is, what shape the ring is, what this format is. You just mentioned about these undercards that we've had with Turki Al Sheikh. We've got undisputed fights happening. You've got the best fighting the best. Boxing was losing its kind of popularity. MMA was kind of dominating, which was quite sad for me because the MMA, UFC, the best fought the best. It was one belt, everyone kind of fight, in that kind of same division, fighting for each other. And boxing, we had a lot of these kind of long, drawn out, contract talks, or they wouldn't happen. For crying out loud, in AJ and Fury, that should have happened how many years ago, and we're still talking about it. If this was UFC, they would have fought already. I'm sure of it.
This is why I like the idea of Zuffer boxing. I mean, Dana White said he doesn't want to work with any of the governing bodies. Bit harsh for me in terms of WBC and the IBF. They're my two favorite governing bodies. But at the end of the day, look, if we're going to have one face, one name, one champion, and we've got one belt to present it, let's embrace it because. You talk, unifications, then another unification. In the past, we've had a division where there's been 4 different world champions. Who can truly say they are the king of the division? I go back to the welterweight division in 2018. You had Spence who had a world title, you had Crawford who had a world title, and you had Showtime Sean Paul who had a world title. You had 3 great fighters, but no matter what the argument was, at the time, you couldn't really pin it. You couldn't pin the fact on this guy is the main man and that's why he's the main man. You know, we had to wait year after year after year to finally get an undisputed world champion. So, in terms of what Dana White wants to do with, one belt and one face, one name, one champion, I'm all for that. However, let's not take the fucking piss here. I don't want a different shape, size ring. I mean, you got to make some changes, but this isn't, fucking, it's not the WWE. It's not the Octagon. As you mentioned about those bare knuckle shows, I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw Kubrat Pulev fighting once in what looked like a triangle shaped ring.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
that's
not a good look, but I do back
Listen, man, don't knock it till you try it, man. I mean, we saw with
Ron, come
Misfits
on,
doing that
Ron.
tag team
Yeah,
boxing as
but
well.
that's not Ron.
I mean,
Ron, look,
it's
I'm not
look,
knocking nobody's hustle, but stick to the tradition, but improve the
fair enough.
side of things of the sport that you need to improve on. We're getting more better 50-50 fights. We're getting better on the cards. You know, we're seeing promoters best fighting each other's best, and we're getting undisputed fights. Now, let's get the one belt, one name, one face, one champion. But let's not, fucking, what we're going to have next? A Royal Rumble of boxing? We're going to have a hardcore match of boxing? Yeah, we've already got tag team boxing in the Misfits. I'm not going to sit here and slate them because, I'm the same guy that's probably going to be putting a microphone in their face at one point and asking them to give us their thoughts on the up and coming fight. But at the end of the day, I don't want to see too many major changes in the sport. Can Eddie Hearn and Dana White work together on from what you've seen of the past?
I mean, they're going to have to. I think it's going to come to a point where they're going to have to. I mean, look, we probably said, can Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren ever work together? Could we have said that 5, 6 years ago? Look at them now. They're the best of chums. You know what I mean? They're doing these undercards. Their fighters are fighting against each other.
And they're both on the zone as well.
Yeah, and there you go. I mean, before it was BT, not BT. Was it TNT
TNT.
or B? Yeah, so they had their own broadcasting, and um, listen, man, power to them, man. I mean, it's all come down to one guy that you've mentioned earlier, who's made it all possible. And he's been a breath of fresh air. I think I can't say that enough for what he's done for the sport.
Long may it continue, guys. We want to know your thoughts on what you made of Eddie Hearn's comments in his interview on the Ariel Helwani show in regards to Dana White and the way he handled the promotion side of things in terms of Canelo versus Crawford. We want to know if you think Eddie Hearn and Dana White can work together. Leave us your thoughts below in the comment section. We'll talk a bit of boxing action now that went down on Saturday night in Sheffield. The heavyweights were in town, Dave Allen and Arslanbek Makhmudov. A great heavyweight scrap, but in the end, Arslanbek Makhmudov came out on top. It was a good fight. It was a good card as well. I was really, really impressed with the card. Junaid Bostan falling short to Bilal Fawaz, which I thought was a great fight. Reece Belloti and Josh Padley, another good 50-50 fight, which we'll touch on in a bit. But Ron, the big Russian Canadian, has powered through, the braviness of Dave Allen, the White Rhino. Firstly, Ron, what do you make of the fight last night? And yeah, just a step too far for Dave Allen last night.
Yeah, I mean, you so really wanted him to come through this, and he came. He had those two fights with Johnny Fisher.
Mm.
He was supposed to be a stepping stone for Johnny Fisher. Supposed to launch him into that fight. Johnny Fisher should have been fighting that. If you asked Eddie Hearn, that's what his dream would have been. But all credit to Dave Allen. Dave Allen is one of those guys that you couldn't write off. He kind of fell in and out of love with boxing, and this was his night. This is his headlining. In Sheffield. He's a local lad as well, and unfortunately, this is a level a bit too far for him. And he was open and honest about it. About how his performance was. He just said, "Look, I wasn't good enough."
Mm.
But and I was really happy to hear that. He said, "Look, this isn't the end of me." And hopefully we'll see him at probably not at that kind of level. We'll see him at a kind of British level. Maybe the winner out of is it Fraser Clark and
Jamie
Jamie
TKV.
JV. So love to see that. You've got David Adley as well. That could be a good fight. You could possibly put it in. There's probably other up and coming British heavyweights, but I'd like to see, someone like Dave Allen fight for the British title and win that British title. He deserves it, man. He's your everyday guy. You can really resonate with him and relate to him, and he was in great shape. He came into this fight. Who's it? It was Jamie Moore. He's under now, and you can see the big difference.
Yeah.
I watched the kind of the documentary kind of leading up to this fight, and you could see his passion. But unfortunately, he came up short, and I think he kind of realized his level, and he was the first one to admit it.
Yeah, I mean, looking back on the fight, firstly, massive shout out to both of them. I thought it was a very good fight, and I thought Dave Allen had some really good moments. I mean, as you mentioned, the
Round 9.
documentary, yeah, there was a clip on Instagram, Eddie Hearn literally jumping up and down on his feet, screaming at the screen because obviously he was promoting his show in America, in Philadelphia. And he was just saying, go on, now's your chance, now's your chance. But I think that was the difference between a British level fighter and a guy who's got a very good amateur background. And I think when Dave Allen was having those moments of success, you saw the what's the word I'm looking for? You saw the smartness, and you saw the IQ of Arslanbek Makhmudov. He didn't stand in, just draw into an all-out war. You used his ring IQ, and yeah, he got caught a few times, but there was a bit of a difference between both.
Well,
Sorry,
2-point deduction as well.
yeah, 2 point deduction as well. I mean,
excessive holding from front foot.
yeah, but look,
Yeah.
Dave Allen's got nothing to be ashamed of. It's a good performance. It's a gutsy performance,
Yep.
And Makhmudov's a good fighter. There's no doubt about that. As you said, Dave Allen, you want to see him go for a British title, and obviously that's what's going to lead to my next question. I mean, what is his role in this heavyweight division? I still think because the guy's been around for so long, I still think he deserves a Deontay Wilder fight. I just think it's just. I mean, he deserves one. He deserves, to have his, he deserves to have his name out there. Go on.
Yeah. Got a question for you. Is Dave Allen the modern day version of Derek Chisora in some ways?
No, I wouldn't say that because
I mean, if we're not, he could become a kind of like a gatekeeper like esque kind of.
But this is a guy that's, was 35 years old. He's not been around as long as Chisora has. I mean, I get where you're saying.
Always you fought at a higher level.
I get where I mean, Chisora's challenged for a world title 3 times. I get where you're coming from, the similarities, and I wouldn't want to consider Dave Allen as a gatekeeper. I mean, I agree with you. I do still think the British title is probably going to be the highlight of his career if he can capture a British title. However, I still think the guy deserves a massive payday, and he deserves to have his name up in the lights again, which is why I fully believe that the best fight to give him is Deontay Wilder. But Deontay Wilder come out the other day and said that he's already got a fight lined up for January. Who the opponent is we don't know. But I would still like to see Dave Allen get his big fight against a Wilder. Arslanbek Makhmudov obviously shared something in his social media during the week of the fight. It was a conversation between him and Anthony Joshua. They've more or less agreed to a fight, Ron. Does Makhmudov deserve the Anthony Joshua fight next? And do you think that's the right fight for Joshua to come back into boxing, considering he hasn't fought for a year now?
Oof. Right now, I mean, I think Joshua beats him comfortably.
Yeah, so do I.
Joshua's too polished, too experienced. I mean, these are the kind of predictions that we made with Dave Allen, that, Dave Allen needs to get Makhmudov early, not because obviously we were thinking about his gas tank might, be kind of might struggle on the long stretch. But I just think Joshua's levels above Makhmudov. Makhmudov's obviously been found out. Not only against what was his name again? Caballel, Vianello. Yeah. I mean, that was a brutal stoppage. That was a TKO when he. So I think someone like Joshua would absolutely just dismantle him. I'd like to think so. Best bet that Makhmudov's got is to try to catch Joshua early, clean. Obviously Joshua has shown vulnerabilities that if you get him early, like Dubois did, then that's he'll be on his back foot, and he's got the power for it. Makhmudov, look at the size of the guy.
I don't think it's the right fight for Joshua to come back into. We're talking about a
Yeah,
former.
no, it just
I
doesn't
don't. But
make
no,
sense to me.
no. It's just we're talking about a former two-time heavyweight champion of the world who's sort of like at the final road in his career. I mean, he shouldn't be fighting a Makhmudov, and that's no disrespect to Arslanbek Makhmudov. I mean, Anthony Joshua is a household name. He's not going to fight for cheap pennies. He's going to want millions, and he knows he's probably got 2, 3 fights left in him.
Yeah,
There's no
exactly.
way he's going to become an undisputed champion. There is a chance of becoming a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world, considering what Alexander Usyk does next. But what does Joshua really want from this final phase of his career? Does he want a world title? Does he want to make money? Does he just want to gather some
Has he
sort of
got time
momentum?
for a tune-up fight? Or you know what I mean? Like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look, the bottom line is, Ron. Okay, I don't want to see this fight with Makhmudov, not because I've got anything against Makhmudov, but Joshua's now how old? He's not fought for a year. Like I said, this is the sort of final chapter of his career. The one fight that makes sense is Joshua versus Fury. That's the fight we want to see. They've both lost their last fight. Make the fight, make millions, and then sail off into the sunset and do what you got to do. That's the fight I want to see next. Whether it happens or not is a different story.
100%, 100%. I mean, but I don't even want to entertain that conversation right now because, will it happen? Will it happen in our lifetime? I don't know what's happening with Fury. I've read from your post that you posted that he's coming back into 2026. So, and
I mean, how many times
Joshua,
has the guy retired now? What, 7, 8 times?
yeah. I mean, like Joshua's been out of the ring since his defeat last year in October. Was it September?
September, yeah.
Against Daniel Dubois. It's been over a year, so he's coming back off an injury. If he's going to step in with an operator like Fury, he will want a tune-up fight. I think that's a summer fight. They're going to build it up to a big stadium fight, but I'm just waiting for some news on any of those two fighters, please. I'd love to see kind of both of them gonna get a fight in, and then have that scrap in the summer.
We'll cross over to the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, across the pond. Jaron Boots Ennis was very, very successful last night in terms of his performance. A round 7 TKO win over Uisma Lima. We all saw Eddie Hearn jumping up and down and saying that this guy is the future of the sport. He's got so much confidence in Jaron Boots Ennis, and I like what I see with the kid. I mean, I thought it was a good performance. He was calling out Oscar De La Hoya, saying, "Oh, we want the Virgil Ortiz fight." There's people saying that maybe Jaron Ennis could perhaps campaign at 160. Did you catch any of the show last night, Ron? And did you catch any of the highlights?
I did. I thought it was a really clinical performance. He looks really sharp. And he's showing that why he's the future of the welterweight division. Obviously, we know Crawford has moved up. So could he be a future opponent for someone like Terence Crawford if he does come back to 147? Yeah, I mean that was supposed to be a really tough test for him, and and look at what how he overcame that one. He's a nightmare matchup for anyone at 147 right now. He's and obviously Eddie Hearn singing his praises, rightly so. Who else is there at 147?
Well, it was the fight was at 154, but he's won a world title at 147. Virgil Ortiz, 160. You've got Carlos Adames, who obviously fought Hamzah Shiraz. I like the kid, man. I think he's a good fighter. I haven't seen a lot of Jaron Ennis. I'm not going to sit here and say I've watched every single one of his fights, but I think he's very powerful. He's got good ring IQ. He uses the ring well. He's quite smart. And he is 27, 28 years old now. So these are the peak, these are the peak numbers of his career. I mean, obviously there's talks of Sebastian Fondora as well. The fight I like is him versus Errol Spence. I think it's a cracker. I mean, Errol Spence.
What
Uh,
happened with Errol Spence?
well, this is it. We don't know. I mean, he's not fought
Like,
since
he's
Crawford.
since that Crawford fight,
Hmm.
he's off the radar. So is he retired? Is he what? So
Only times are going to tell. I mean, there was a lot of rumors about him potentially fighting one of the Charlo brothers, but I don't know. I don't think that's obviously. Look, if Spence is to come back into the sport, it's going to have to. He needs a warm up fight. I mean, you know,
it's been years.
I mean,
I can't remember
he
how many
took
years
the Crawford
he's been
fight
called for fight.
after a long layoff, and that backfired. And this was coming off the back of a car accident. I mean, I love the Spence versus Jaron Ennis fight. I don't think they make it happen because probably Eddie Hearn will feel that it's an easy victory for Jaron Ennis. However, the Sebastian Fondora fight is a good fight. The Virgil Ortiz fight is a good fight, and there's even the possibility of going up to 160 pounds. So, like I said, I've just given you some names potentially for Jerron Boots Ennis. Obviously, that was a final eliminator last night. I mentioned the Spence fight, but obviously, we don't know what's going on with Errol Spence. I mean, listen, Conor Ben as well.
Yeah, that was
Why
the name
not?
I was going to mention. Um, See how he overcomes his rematch with Chris Eubank. I mean, look, whatever the outcome, that fight's still on.
Hmm. But what do
I
you do
mean,
next with Jaron Ennis? I mean, he's 28 years old, and we did sort of talk about the American heavyweight scene being not as big as we would like it to be. I mean, we've got Crawford sort of leading the way. What do you do next with Jaron Ennis? What's the right fight for you?
Virgil Ortiz. I mean,
Virgil
I'd
Ortiz,
like,
good fight.
yeah, that's it. I'd like to see that. Both undefeated fighters. Um, let's have a champion. Someone who rules the roost. Is Virgil Ortiz a champion at 147?
No, it's 154 now.
154. That fight makes sense to me. I'd like to see that.
We'll touch on the undercard as well last night from Sheffield. We'll sort of go back to it. We'll start off with Josh Padley and Reece Belloti, and I'm going to have a bit of a rant here, Ron, because listen, it was a good fight. Very, very good fight. My personal opinion is I thought Reece Belloti won. The scorecard readings were absolutely atrocious. I mean, I put up a tweet after the fight last night, and I said that that was an absolute disgrace, and those judges should never, ever judge again. Um, it was just a nightmare of a scoring. Firstly, Ronald, like I said, it was a good card in Sheffield last night. What was your thoughts on the Josh Padley Reece Belloti fight?
I mean, first of all, I got to know of Josh Padley is he was a late replacement when he fought against Shakur Stevenson
Mm.
on that undercard, that amazing undercard that we had. I thought he gave a really good account of himself, and I was really glad that Eddie Hearn gave him another opportunity or signed him on a longer contract. Um, yeah, it was an interesting fight. He got the decision. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think yes, I do. I think it's a little bit harsh with the scoring. I'm not sure. I mean, it was a tighter fight than it's all subjectiveness, isn't it? Of who came out best in that fight. But you kind of feel that what? How many rounds do you reckon would you have given Belotti?
Listen, I gave Belotti. I thought Belotti won at least 7 of those rounds. I thought Belotti did enough to win that fight. I mean, the scorecards read 99 to 92, 97 to 93, 97 to 93. It's just wrong. I mean,
That's a very
Reece
some
Belotti.
of them were close rounds. I mean, it could
No,
have gone either
no, no, I'm
way.
so sorry. I got to disagree. Look, Ron, Reece
Yeah,
Belloti last night was fighting for his career. I think he's had 5 losses. He's coming off the back of a few defeats. Lost a Ryan Garner fight. This is a guy that, it was either sink or swim last night. He boxed unbelievably well last night. I thought he controlled the fight. I thought his game plan was spot on. I thought his corner got it spot on. I mean, I can understand if the scorecards were a bit more closer. How on earth are these judges scoring that fight 97, 93? I mean, forget
it's
that.
4
The other
rounds.
judge, 99, 92. I mean, what planet are these judges living on? And when are we going to start investigating? I mean, I remember we did a podcast and you turned around and said These judges should be interviewed after the fight and asked why they've scored this round a certain way. These judges get away with it
Yeah,
scot free. And I
yeah, agreed.
honestly, I feel so sorry for Reece Belloti. Listen, I'm not gonna slate Josh Padley. You know, it wasn't his fault. He wasn't the judge. He turned up. He put in a performance. But I think last night they got it horribly wrong. And I think British boxing has taken a massive, massive backward step last night, because what was a good card has got a lot of negativity surrounding it. Because Reece Belloti, not only did he lose that fight last night, there's probably no way back for him in his career. And if I was Reece Belloti, I'd think to myself, do you know what? I put in that performance and you get that type of scorecard. Come on now. I think it's a disgrace. It's a fucking disgrace. It's as simple as that. It's an absolute disgrace.
Oh, look, I mean, they've tried AI judging as well, and
Oh,
that doesn't look any better. So I think it is. I mean, boxing kind of judging boxing, can be very subjective. It depends on what you like and what you dislike. Um, yeah, so I just hope they, in the future that we get better decisions. I thought it was a close fight. Um, I mean, I'd like to know your thoughts on the other fights on that
oh,
undercard as
what
well.
a fight! I
Um,
mean, are we referring to Junaid Bostan and Bilal Fawaz?
yes,
I thought that
what
was
was
an absolute banger. Oh
barnstormer
man,
that was.
I think my head was hurting after watching that fight. I mean, listen, first of all, massive shout out to both fighters. I actually thought it was going to be given as another draw again, and I thought we're going to get a third fight.
Well, you
Um,
wouldn't have knocked that decision, would you?
no,
If they did.
I thought a draw was a fair result. But I actually watched the highlights again, and I can see why they more or less lean towards Bilal Fawaz. I think the turning point in that fight for me was obviously, look, Junaid Bostan was practically out on his feet at, what was it, round four? And then he caught Bilal Fawaz with an unbelievable shot, which changed, the sort of complex of the fight. But one thing I really, really liked about what Bilal Fawaz did is he used his experience after that shot that he took. I
Yeah,
think it was in
yeah.
round five. And, you know,
You had him lunging. You had it.
I
He was
think
missing.
last night, Ron, we saw the difference between a fighter who's just at the, sort of early stages of his career than a fighter that was, at the latter stages of his career. I mean, he used his experience so well. What is he, 36, 37 years old now, former Southern Area champion, now English champion. He was the more experienced fighter in the latter stages of that fight last night. And um, I thought the way he moved, the way he got behind the jab, his experience paid off last night. I felt for Junaid Bostan because, I thought he did so well to get back into the fight, but I just thought experience was what got Bilal
Mm.
Fawaz over the line last night. And what was your thoughts on the fight? Because I know you mentioned it before we started the pod.
I like. I mean, I like. I've been following Junaid Bostan for a while now. He's an up and coming fighter,
Mm,
highly talked of. Um, it was an interesting matchup because they're both undefeated fighters. Oh no, sorry, no. Fawaz had lost one fight. It was but it was a big thing to kind of put him with the experience of Fawaz. And the first fight, controversial. Some may say that Bostan might have got away with that with the draw there. I thought it was a brilliant fight. I mean, some of those rounds. I mean, you had Junaid Bostan who had the better of it all as well. But you're right. Junaid showed great heart and courage to survive that. When he's on his feet, off his feet, basically, he's kind of holding on. Was it round five? He was holding on.
hmm
So, yeah, I think there's a lot. I hope he's very young. He's only 23 years of age. It's his first defeat of his career. I hope that it doesn't derail his career. I hope he can take a lot away from it because
mm.
it's a close defeat. A lot of the commentators said it could have gone either way. It could have been a draw again. It could have been a win for Junaid Bostan. You saw the look on Fawaz's face. He's like, "What?
He didn't believe he won.
Me?" You know what I mean? And it was that kind of fight, and you could see the disappointment on their faces, and the the love was not lost after the fight where Junaid Bostan kind of put his heart and soul into that. What I would now like to see is both of those fighters now go in their separate directions, build up their careers. Obviously, that was for the British super welterweight, wasn't it?
No, it's
That
English.
was
The English.
English. Sorry, English super welterweight title. So, congratulations to Fawaz. Brilliant. I'd like to see him move on. I'd like to see Junaid Bostan kind of build up his career again. Get a few wins under his belt. Who knows? We can have a third fight. Where Junaid is
Possibly.
a lot more experienced and got more fights under his belt. He's only 23. He's still relatively young. Fawaz is 29. He's been but you nailed it on the head
36, Ron.
there.
36. 36.
Is he 36?
Yes.
Oh,
He's at the latter stage. It's all right, Ron. It happens. Blonde moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I've
Got mixed up there.
but you're right though. The experience mattered. It told towards the later end and the back ends of that fight. I mean, look, the scorecards were very relatively close. What the judges had it. One was a draw, and the other two had it by a point or two for Fawaz. So
it's fine margins, really, and like I said,
really fine margins. And I think there's nothing to, if it was a shutout points victory, then we would be like questioning, Junaid Bostan, like, is he as good as we thought it was? They gave us a great kind of spectacle. We really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a great spectacle, and it sort of like paved the way for the main event. And I thought those three fights, Belloti, Padley, and then obviously the rematch between Fawaz and Bostan, they're great ways to sort of keep the crowd, interested. And those three fights were really good fights, and I thought the card was a really good one. In terms of Junaid Bostan, look, I think those fights are going to be the making of him, and you can tell he was disappointed last night, but they're close fights, man. It is as I said, it's fine margins. Bilal Fawaz is a very experienced fighter. That's the southern area. That's the English. By 100% he should be thinking about a British title now. As for Junaid Bostan, that fight will be the making of him. There's no need to panic if you're in Junaid Bostan's. I mean, look, he's backed by Eddie Hearn and Matchroom for a reason. We've seen Johnny Fisher lose his first fight. They're going to back him. They're going to, stay behind him. They're going to carry on and try and revive his career. This is a young kid who's been involved in two very, very tough fights. I mean, there's Bilal Fawaz, man. I mean, he's so experienced. It could be.
It's an interesting backstory as well. I don't know if you've read into Bilal Fawaz's backstory.
Yes, something about deportation with Nigeria, something.
Yeah, I mean, suffering from abuse as well when he was younger. Obviously, you mentioned that as well. So.
Well, look, well done to Bilal Fawaz last night. He boxed 100%. Very well. He weathered the storm. There was 2 points of that fight where both fighters were on the verge of getting completely knocked out. Credit to them both. Obviously, look, we're not fighters. We know that one's going to be hurting right now. One's going to be absolutely over the moon. Junaid Bostan, young fighter, backed by SJM Boxing, promoted by Eddie Hearn. He's in the right place right now. And, I'm a big fan of Junaid Bostan, and I do believe he'll come again. As for Bilal Fawaz, it's going to be exciting to see what they do with him next. Ron, we've carried on going over sort of like the last few weeks now. So that is podcast 83 out of the way. How are you feeling for podcast 100? I mean, have you sort of got yourself mentally prepared?
I've got to see what's around there, what's happening in the boxing scene. I mean, you mentioned about a lot of topics. I'm hoping that the Dana White has got his his boxing done. That'll be something interesting for me to talk about on boxing podcast number 100.
Just to let you, sorry, go on.
Go on. I'll let you. Before you do, I want to give another shout out to another. Champion, British champion as well, or English champion, I think it is, Hamzah Uddin.
Forgot the sniper.
I
call him the sniper.
The sniper. Wow. He did a bit of a homage to Ricky Hatton there. The body shots. Wow. he landed them at will, and that the guy was wincing in pain. I think Ricky Hatton would have enjoyed watching that. First Bangladeshi boxer. I can't think of any other Bangladeshi, and he's doing his Bengalis proud all up and down the country from Warsaw. So I'm really excited about him. He made a bit of a statement, and he's put. It was quite interesting. He made a little TikTok little moment about what he said at the end of his fight as well. So
Young, confident, skillful,
mm,
powerful, and more importantly, Ron, he has got the ability to go far. And as I said, man, look, these young fighters under Eddie Hearn, I mean, there's some good, talented fighters out there. Like I said, Junaid Bostan will regroup, he will rebuild, he will come again. But this kid right here, Hamzah Uddin, he's going to be definitely one for the future, and hopefully we're going to see him in bigger and better fights. Ron, that's all we've got time for today on podcast 83. Listen, a massive shout out to you again, mate. I really appreciate you giving your time out doing these podcasts with us. Even though you get paid quite a lot, I really appreciate. Am I joking? Ron, Ron loves boxing and he's here for the love of boxing and he's here for the love of the channel. And Ron, none of this, mate, would be possible without you. So I appreciate your time. Really, really means a lot to us, mate.
been a pleasure. Look
Absolute
forward to next
pleasure.
one.
Well, podcast number 100 is only 17 away, mate. And just to let you know, I am not helping you prepare for anything. You are doing everything. You're going to be doing the transcript. You're going to be doing the introduction. I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to be like a fly on the wall. I can't wait to see how you do podcast 100.
Well, hopefully the viewership will go up, subscriptions will go up when I start doing it. So you might be out of a job, son. So you have been warned. So it's up to you, man.
Listen, you've said it many times. You are the face of the channel. You've got your chance to prove it in podcast number 100. But no, Ron, listen, we love you and we respect you dearly, mate. So appreciate your time as always. And guys, that's all we have got time for today in regards to the podcast. Listen, it'd be a massive, massive help if you just fucking hit the subscribe button and turn on that bell for more boxing notifications. We're going to be bringing you some exciting content this week. Hopefully, we're going to be keeping you up to date on all of our social media platforms of what's going on next. So hit those links below in the description. And if you are a fan of your audio platforms and you don't want to watch this on YouTube and you don't want to connect it to your 50-inch screen sofa and you're on your way to work or you're going for a run like Ron does, he pretends he's going on a long run, but he only runs to the chippy and back. This podcast is available on all audio platforms, including Spotify, the number one audio platform out there, in my opinion. Guys, thank you very much for your time and thank you for listening to podcast 83 of the Lights Out Boxing podcast.